Welcome back to Banging the Can, the Houston sports show that does not apologize for championship rings and tings, presented by Bolen Media. I am your host, Ross Bolen, and we did it. We did it. We made it back to baseball season. Please clap.
Please clap.
Everyone. Good for us. Everyone pat yourselves on the back for surviving another Astros offseason, albeit probably the most eventful one we've had during this golden age of Astros baseball, because the Texans' turnaround has made football fun again, and the Rockets' rebuild has finally achieved launch. Before we dive into today's main topic, go ahead and give us a follow on social media. We are at Banging the Can on Instagram, X, formerly known as Twitter, and TikTok. Follow at Banging the Can everywhere. If you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and hit that subscribe button below. Throw us a like on this video. Leave a comment below when you feel so compelled over the course of today's show. And if you're listening on one of the major podcast platforms, give us a rating and review, and go ahead and subscribe on youtube.com/@bangingthecan as well, even if you don't want to watch, because it helps grow the show. Please and thank you. All right, our Astros open their season against the New York Yankees at Minute Maid Park at 3:10 local time on Thursday, March 28th. And with both clubs having lost their assumed opening day starters to injury in Justin Verlander and Garrett Cole, we'll be watching Framber Valdez versus Nestor Cortez, which rhymes nicely. The Astros are minus 150 favorites at the sports books, with the over-under set at 8.5. And so far, it appears the strong majority of the bets are coming in on the Astros money line, which is not all that surprising. God, it is going to feel so good to be watching meaningful baseball in the middle of the day again. Verlander, by the way, just to give an update on him, threw his second live BP yesterday on Tuesday and is expected to be back in the next couple of weeks. Kessinger also participated in that live BP. Sounds like he actually might be available for the Astros on opening day. Urquidy will probably be out until late April, early May. Luis Garcia and Lance McCullers Jr. are expected to be out until at least July 1st, according to reports. Those injuries aside, though, it's going to feel great to have Jose Altuve out there as our leadoff hitter on opening day, since we did not have that luxury last season. Jordan is healthy, Bregman is healthy, Kyle Tucker is healthy, Abreu, all the key offensive pieces are there. So let's get into what I want to see from all the prominent players on the roster this season. All right, so let's start with position players and kind of what I want to see from each guy this season. Jose Altuve, leadoff hitter, second baseman, just got extended so that he can spend the rest of his career as an Astro, presumably. And not much to say about this guy. As long as he can stay healthy, he always gets it done, right? Defensively, he has a lapse every now and then, a weird bobble, drop ball, overthrow, whatever, but very rare, solid through and through, beating heart of the team, heart and soul of the Astros. Jose Altuve is going to do what Jose Altuve does year after year, season after season. One of the most consistent producers in baseball. I don't expect things to be any different with Jose this year, so I don't have much to say about him. Yordan Alvarez at DH, expected to hit in the 2-hole. Stay healthy. That's what we want to see from you, Yordan. Stay healthy. Just stay healthy and hammer the baseball. This is a guy that he's right there in his prime now. Everybody in the league knows what he can do. When he's hot, he is one of the most dangerous hitters in the game. Top 3 most dangerous hitters in the game. A guy you do not want to see at the plate with runners in scoring position or runners on base at all, because you know he is going to get it done every single freaking time. The dude is a freak show. As long as he can stay healthy, I expect him to have, perhaps, if he's on the field for every game like we expect, or, almost every game, then maybe it'll be his best season yet. Maybe this is the one where Yordan makes the jump from one of the most feared hitters in baseball to one of the all-around best players in the game, no doubt. That's what I want to see from him. Might be asking a lot, but when you're talking about Yordan Alvarez, not really. His talent is otherworldly. The dude mashes, and if he does what he does, we're going to be okay. And that 1-2 punch right there at the beginning of the lineup of Altuve and Yordan Alvarez is going to be really, really interesting to watch all year long. Kyle Tucker, presumably batting third, playing right field. Tuck had a weird year last year, right? With the arbitration situation between him and the Astros, he kind of fell off the map during the playoffs, was not the Kyle Tucker, the King Tuck that we expect. And if he wants to remain crowned, he's going to need to turn shit around this year, right? He's going to need to come out and crush, because for this lineup to be as potent as it can possibly be, we need Kyle Tucker doing King Tuck things. That's what we need. So we go Alvarez, Tucker, Bregman, third baseman. Last year under contract. I saw Alex Bregman spoke to reporters and said that he was interested in having his representation, Scott Boras, work with the Astros during the season on a potential extension or new contract, which is really interesting because a lot of the time what these guys do is they say, no, I don't want to deal with that during the year. I don't want the distraction. They can handle it when the time comes. So there is a little, that was encouraging to me. There's a little positivity in the way of maybe the Astros are able to bring Bregman back somehow, because it has been my fear this offseason that just like so many before him, including Springer and Correa, that they might just have to let him walk because Jim Crane, Astros owner, doesn't hand out the kind of contract that Alex Bregman is going to be looking for. But Bregman, I don't know that you can ask all that much more from Bregman than he did last season. Like, we've seen peak Bregman before. It's probably been 5 years or so, right? He's had a couple of up and down seasons here and there where you're wondering, is he going to show flashes of the cocky Bregs, as I used to call him, that he used to be, where he was one of the most feared hitters in the game. Last year, he was just incredibly consistent. He was never, on a Yordan Alvarez level of mashing, but he was right, he's one of the most efficient hitters in the game. He still sees the ball better than almost anybody. He's walking a ton. He does not waste at bats. He does not take bad cuts. Bregman is a really great hitter, okay? And because he is coming up on a contract year, you expect that he will be at his best. And with the type of dude that I know he is, that is the expectation, that he will be at his absolute best, because he's still in the peak, or in the prime of his career. There's the word I was looking for. He's still in the prime of his career, but he's nearing, the back end of it probably a little bit. He's been in the game for several years, and you want to see him take advantage of the youth that he still has. That's what I want to see. I want to see Bregman have a great year. But if he can do just what he did last year, that would be enough. Because he's one of the best gloves in the game at third base. Defensively, he's unbelievable. Offensively, like I said, incredibly consistent. What more can you ask for? Alex Bregman likely hitting fourth. Jose Abreu, batting fifth, playing first base. He's another guy that, like Yordan Alvarez, it's like, just stay healthy. Look, Abreu struggled last season, the first half of the year especially. He looked like dog shit. He was making us all question the signing, bringing him in. And then, guess what? When push came to shove and the playoffs came around, he got it done. He was very clutch. He was very good. During the playoffs, he looked like the Jose Abreu we all hoped he would be when he joined the Astros. So I don't know if we can expect playoff level Jose Abreu all season long, but I do expect him to be significantly better than he was the first half of the year with the Astros, where he was last season, where he was barely hittable. Like, you could barely throw him in the lineup. He was so fucking bad with the bat. It was horrifying. A lot of people got really down on Jose Abreu the first half of the year as a result. I think he rebuilt his confidence in the playoffs. We didn't get all the way to the big show. We didn't get to the World Series the way we wanted to, but I think Jose Abreu has to see last season, when it's all said and done, considering the playoff performance, as a success. If he can carry that momentum into this season, we will be in a very, very good spot with Jose Abreu batting fifth and playing first base. Next up is Chas McCormick in left field. Because we are going to have, it looks like, Jake Myers as our everyday center fielder, Chas McCormick should be our everyday left fielder, which puts Yordan at DH, right? And I think that's in part to keep Yordan healthy. It's not that Yordan is a bad left fielder. It's almost just like, why have him out there? And I'm sure he'll play the position some, but Chas is going to be the dude you see out there most often, it seems. And Chas had, kind of a weird year last year, too, in terms of, like, if you were pointing to guys that you thought you'd get more out of last season, it would be Kyle Tucker, Chas McCormick, and Jose Abreu, of course. So, like, if those three dudes can step up, if Chas, like, we've seen him hit better than he did last year. We've seen him play defensively better than he did last year. if he can play at the level that we all know he's capable of. Chaz is a fan favorite, and I want to be chomping all season long. So we'll see what Chaz can do in the 6 hole. Yanier Diaz, this is it. This is your chance. Everybody wanted it. Maldonado's gone. We've got one surefire, 1A starting catcher in Yanier Diaz, and we know the guy can rake. That was the biggest argument, right? That was the biggest argument for him playing over Maldonado last season, is that whatever Maldonado brought to the table in the way of game planning for pitchers and calling pitches for them, it didn't seem to offset the fact that he can't hit for shit. Maldonado was now gone. Yanier Diaz, the guy we know can mash, is going to be getting at bats. And I expect him to take advantage of those ABs. That's what we want to see from Yanier Diaz. We all know he's a capable catcher. We all know he's got an arm. He can gun guys down at second. But is he going to get it done, or is the pressure going to get to him? That'll be the big question with Yanier Diaz, who's earned that spot, earned management's confidence. The fans are ready to see it. It's a new age behind the plate in terms of the Houston Astros. Yanier Diaz is our guy, and he needs to produce offensively. Defensively, I don't really worry about the dude. He's never shown me any reason to worry about him defensively, but offensively, we know what he's capable of, and that's what we want to see. Anything less will be a disappointment, right? Jake Myers at center field. Look, Jake the Snake, he's had his ups and downs. When he first got pulled up to the Astros, made his major league debut, expectations were really high. He's never really met them consistently, right? The belief is still there, clearly. The team believes in him, and, he's hard not to be a fan of. Great dude. Joe Espada clearly believes in him, making him the everyday center fielder. He's got to earn it. He's got to make Joe look good. He's got to make the fans who have backed Jake all these years look good. And if Jake Myers he's kind of a pivotal player. A lot of these dudes on the lineup, we know what we're going to get, right? Or we know what our expectations are, at least. Jake, hard to say. If he can step up, have a big year, play at his best, he could be a dude that pushes us over 100 wins, into being one of the top few teams record-wise in the regular season. He could make a huge difference. He could be a swing player. So Jake Myers is somebody that in center field, especially defensively, I trust Jake. It's offense that I'm a little worried about. And because he's down there at the bottom half of the order or whatever, he has an opportunity to be an impact player. If Jake Myers can get it done this season, I feel like things are going really well for the Astros if that's happening. Rooting heavily for Jake Myers as we get into this 2024 Major League Baseball regular season. And then there's Jeremy Pena, a guy who we all know what he did during the 2022 World Series run, winning ALCS MVP, World Series MVP as a rookie shortstop, replacing Carlos Correa. He became a hero, a guy that, I don't think anybody in Houston should ever say anything bad about, regardless of how the rest of his career goes, just based on that one season alone. That being said, 2023, yikes. Didn't really seem like he had it. It was the sophomore slump, the classic sophomore slump, right? I think pitchers learned how to handle him a little bit better. Shortstop, he was solid. He wasn't phenomenal. There were moments here and there where defensively he had lapses too. Not all that many. The Astros didn't have that many defensive lapses last season in any position, really. It's the reason that they still made it as far as they did and were one game away from the World Series yet again, even in a year where some other things went wrong and injuries in particular were an issue. Pena stays healthy. He's not a guy you really have to worry about in terms of injuries, but in terms of consistency, in terms of his offensive production, he's got to be better than he was in 2023. He simply has to. And he has an opportunity there, again, at the bottom of the lineup, where production is not expected to be as high. If Jeremy Pena can play at his best, it could be a lot higher than other people. Those are the two spots, right? Jake Myers, Jeremy Pena, where if they come out and perform, then the Astros lineup doesn't really have any holes in it. But if Pena sucks ass and can't hit, Myers sucks ass and can't hit, then we're going to have some of the same issues offensively that we've seen in years past, where it's like the top 4 or 5 guys are phenomenal, but if they're having off days, where does the run production come from, right? So Jeremy Pena, big season for him. Very important that he comes out and establishes himself early, that he gets in the groove within the first month or so of the season. We don't want to see a long stretch of Pena trying to find his footing. I want to see him producing early and often. And defensively, he could be better than last year, but that's not the spot I'm worried about. He's proven over the last couple seasons to be a phenomenal defensive shortstop. It's offense with his bat in his hand that I want to see Jeremy Pena doing damage that I did not see often enough last season, particularly in the playoffs. He almost became like a Maldonado level of hit. When Pena came up, you just knew, like, oh shit, this isn't good. This isn't going to go well. Then you've got guys like Mauricio Dubon, right? Utility dude, was my MVP in 2023. Big part of the reason we got through the big stretches of injury with Altuve out, with outfielders out. Dubon did everything you wanted him to do. He hit great, played great defense. He gives us depth. Mauricio Dubon is not going to probably get as many looks as he did in 2023, if I had to guess. Fingers crossed, if everybody stays healthy the way that we hope they will, then we won't see Dubon as much. And that's kind of a bummer because we know what he can do. But I also expect Joe Espada to plug Mauricio Dubon into the lineup as often as he possibly can because he's proven to be an impact guy. He's another one of these dudes that could make or break your season depending on what he brings to the table. So if he brings his best like he did last year, Dubon makes the Astros very dangerous because he brings so much versatility. He is an incredible contact hitter. And his attitude, what he brings to the clubhouse, he's always fucking smiling. I love this dude, one of my favorite Houston Astros probably ever. And I hope that we get to see him do his thing. Maybe not as often as last year, but often enough to make a big difference for the Astros. You got John Singleton. Look, John Singleton had a weird year last year where he may get DH a couple of times here or there when Yordan Alvarez is out. John Singleton, the name of the game is taking advantage of the opportunities you're given. That's it. You can't expect too much from the dude, but when he gets ABs, he needs to make contact. No strikeouts, no bad swings, no striking out looking. Try to get the ball in the air. Fucking drive runs in. John Singleton, drive runs in. He's probably going to pinch hit some too, if I had to guess, him and Corey Julks, right? Those two guys, the name of the game for both of them, John Singleton and Corey Julks. When you get your chances, capitalize on them. Don't let the moment pass you by. Because John Singleton in particular had a hell of a ride to get to where he is now. And I want to see that dude reap the benefits of all the hard work and make his comeback story complete. It looked like that might happen last season more than it actually did. And I want to see John Singleton do well this year. Corey Julks, what is it, year 2 for him? He kind of showed flashes of what he can do. He's another dude that could make a huge difference in terms of depth on this team. I love the way he hits. And that's kind of that in terms of offense. And some defense. I guess we talked some defense too. But in terms of our position players, that's kind of it. Look, the team looks a lot like it did last year. Looks a lot like it did last year in terms of position players. There's going to be some slight differences in terms of outfield, right? Joe Espada is going to make some different choices than Dusty Baker did. I like that. I like that we're getting a switch up managerially. And I think it could reap massive benefits on both sides of the ball in terms of batting order. We've got some changes there in terms of defensive assignments as well. So a lot to watch with position players. Even more to watch with starting pitching, though. Where our opening day pitcher, because Verlander is out, you've got Framber Valdez, who had a nightmarish 2023 season. He was never himself, even pitching a no-hitter at one point. There's no other way to say it. Framber sucked in 2023. Framber went backwards, which happens. It's an important thing to remember. When you're getting better, when you're making progress, whether you're talking about on the field of sport like baseball or in the game of life, as you grow and progress, you're gonna backslide at different points. It's not, progress is not a straight line upward. You kind of fall off, you go back to old habits, you lose yourself at points, and then you got to remember who you are and what you worked for and get back to the grind, and that is what Framber Valdez has got to do this season. Spring training didn't make me super confident in what he's got going on, and they were trying to experiment with him calling his own pitches. That went fucking horribly. He's going to have a new catcher, right? He's got to be better. He's got to be his best. Framber is a dude that we cannot... Look, pitching is going to be a weird spot this year. Starting pitching is going to be weird this year. With Verlander's injured, he's also very fucking old. Let's just be straight up. Verlander's very old. He's still an ace when he's at his best, but he's an old man. God damn it. And we need the younger guys to be better than they were last year. Most importantly, Framber Valdez. That guy has got to cook. He's got to get his head screwed on straight. That's the biggest thing with him. And as a head case myself, I can identify with that. I get it. He's got to get his head screwed on straight for this season. He's got to be locked in from opening day to the playoff run that we will inevitably go on. Framber Valdez needs to be an ace. He needs to be our ace. That's it. Like, you've got Verlander, sure, but like I said, he's kind of de facto ace when he's healthy, which he probably won't be all year if we're being honest. Knock on wood, fingers crossed, pray to God that he is, but God forbid he's not. Framber has to be there. He has to be there as the 1B option. And we will find out just how locked in Framber Valdez is at 3 o'clock in the afternoon tomorrow when we play the Yankees. If he comes out strong and sets the tone, I will feel a lot better. Framber Valdez cannot repeat what he did in 2023. Christian Javier had his moments. Consistency was an issue, though, in 2023. We've seen what this dude is capable of, too. He's capable of, like, Cy Young award-winning level pitching. When he's at his best and he's pitching consistently and he feels comfortable. Didn't really have that going in 2023. This is like the pitching can make or break the season because we have at least two guys in Framber Valdez and Christian Javier that we know are capable of being among the best in all of baseball. But they've kind of slipped and fell last season, and we need them at their best for this team to be at their best. It kind of goes without saying. It sounds silly coming out of my mouth, but like those two dudes had off years. Framber much more so than Javier, I would argue. But it's like, with this team, it gets hard to evaluate the regular season because the playoffs are the only thing that matter. And like when I'm looking back at 2023, some of the playoff performances kind of overshadow the regular season performances, but they both let us down. Let's just say that. And I don't want to feel that way about either of them again, but particularly Framber in the regular season has got to be better because our record has got to be. I want our record to reflect this fucking insane roster we have. And the sports are tough, man. It's tough to watch, especially with baseball, when you've got a jam-packed roster full of talent that you know what they're capable of, and then they don't perform at the level you know they're capable of. It's fucking frustrating. And those two dudes, Framber and Javier, are right up there with like Kyle Tucker and Jeremy Pena in terms of dudes that I'm looking at them and I'm like, I know you're better than that. So there's two starting pitchers that we have to see play better than they did in 2023. And then there's Hunter Brown. Is this guy going to take the next step? Is he going to get to the next level? The next couple seasons are going to determine if that ever happens, most likely. This one is an important one for Hunter Brown as well. He is believed to have a lot more in store for his career than he has shown us so far. It's kind of been up and down. He's had games where he looks really, really solid. He's had games where I'm like, holy shit, please get him out of there. And with Verlander on the roster, who's a guy that Hunter Brown has kind of modeled his game after, you would hope that he can make that leap before Verlander eventually retires. And I think this is a big year for Hunter Brown. He's another guy. If he can come out and be in it and pitch, be the third, fourth best pitcher, our starting rotation looks a hell of a lot better than if he's very wishy-washy as he has been in the past. He has all the tools. He's got the weapons. He's got the pitches. He's got the arm. He seems to have the right mentality. You got to bring it all together, though, and get that complete product out of Hunter Brown for him to have a big year. JP France, one of the MVPs of last season, was phenomenal. He fucking threw. We've been playing our minor league team. The Astros have the last couple of days, if you didn't notice, in spring training. We lost the first day. That was embarrassing. I think we won 7-3 yesterday, though. But JP France accidentally threw it out Altuve's head. About made me want to die. But everything was fine. JP was great last year. He stepped up in a huge way and made sure that we even got to the fucking playoffs, that we still won the division somehow, although we did fall ass backwards into it thanks to the Rangers choking away the division title. JP, you can't ask for more than he gave you last season. If he gives us that again, my God, I would be very happy with that. But he is a dude that I think is capable of taking the next step and getting to the next level. If it happens, it happens. But if not, just getting the bare minimum of what we got out of him last season would be more than enough. Jose Urquidy, when he returns from injury, another dude that we've seen flashes where it's like, holy shit, Urquidy could be next. And then there's games where he's extremely inconsistent, can't find his locations. He's kind of all over the place. It's, health has been an issue for him as well. I don't really know what to expect from Urquidy this year, especially considering the injury. But if we want to have the depth that we need to be a World Series winning club in 2024, Urquidy is going to need to be better and healthy. If he's not usable, that's when our starting pitching rotation starts to look thin. That's why people wanted the Astros to go and grab perhaps one more starting pitcher or at least a middle reliever or something in the offseason, because the depth thing starts to get a little freaky when you imagine what this thing looks like with Verlander out and with Framber not as worthy of trust as he once was, and with Javier also not worthy of trust the way he once was, and Hunter Brown's never really been at that level, and JP France is on year 2, and yeah, it starts to get a little shaky, right? Starts to get a little scary. So relief pitchers, we've got Josh Hader coming in with his first year with the Astros. He's our go-to closer. Of course, I still believe that Ryan Presley will close games as well. Hader can't pitch every night, right? So, but Hader's going to be our 1A closer. The guy's had a phenomenal career. He's awesome. It was an obvious mistake when the Astros traded him away. To have him back is going to be amazing. And he really gives us an opportunity to have the kind of bullpen to where if you can get to the 6th, 7th inning with a lead, the game might be fucking over, because you have to face Josh Hader, Ryan Presley, Brian Abreu, Rafael Montero. Hader is as good as it gets in terms of lefty closers. Having a lefty closer at all is going to be fucking weird. But I'm very, very excited to watch Josh Hader in an Astros uniform. Ryan Presley, the guy is great year in, year out, consistently over the past 3-4 years, been one of the best closers in baseball. Doesn't get as much love as he should from Astros fans for one reason or another. It's a tough position, being a closer. You blow 1 or 2 games, suddenly people lose faith in you completely, and they never gain it back, even if you've proved to them that you're worthy of it. I love Presley. I love having him on our team. I'm very excited to see what he does this year with the pressure off of him, right? That's because part of the thing with being a closer is the pressure is just ridiculous. What you have to deal with out there mentally is insane. And it's why you end up with so many closers that are ridiculous people, crazy head cases, right? Historically, one of the funniest positions in sports. The personalities that you get in the bullpen from Major League Baseball closers, they're all over the place. So because we brought Josh Hader in, I think it takes some pressure off Ryan Presley. I think Presley could be in store for one of his best years ever if he can stay locked in, keep the same mentality, but let some of that pressure go, yield it to Josh Hader. No, it's not just on me. We've got another guy. Share the pressure with others, and I think Presley will be just fine. Brian Abreu is Brian Abreu. The dude is incredible. One of the more underrated pitchers probably in the sport. He's shown what he can do. And you just pray for another good year for him. Because if you do get those 3 dudes, just those 3 dudes, Hader, Presley, Abreu, you've got one of the scariest bullpens in baseball. And then if Rafael Montero can pitch at the level that he did once pitch at, man, we would have something special in the bullpen. That would be nice. This episode is brought to you by thefreezepipe.com. Ripping the bong doesn't have to hurt. Upgrade to a freeze pipe today to experience icy smooth clouds without the throat burn, chest pain, or coughing attacks. Freeze Pipe is an American-owned glass brand that makes a unique line of freezable pipes, bubblers, and bongs that cool smoke by over 300 degrees. The secret is freezable glycerin chambers that come on every piece. You simply pop one of these chambers in the freezer for an hour. Then, when you're ready to light up and smoke passes through, it's instantly chilled for a pain-free and refreshing experience. Glycerin is a non-toxic gel that freezes quicker than water and stays frozen longer. Smoking a freeze pipe is like putting ice cubes in your bong if those ice cubes took steroids and played baseball in the 1990s. If you're still smoking out of a regular-ass piece without glycerin chambers that make every hit as smooth as silk, you're living in the past. The future is now, old man. It's time to get yourself a freeze pipe. They sent us a big box of their products here at Bolen Media's offices. These things are incredible. Absolutely love them. You and your lungs deserve one. Say goodbye to harsh smoke and coughing attacks. by shopping the smoothest pipes, bubblers, and bongs and more at thefreezepipe.com. Use code BTC. You'll get 10% off your entire order. That's thefreezepipe.com, code BTC for 10% off. Link and code in the description of this episode. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see a couple of their products over my left shoulder, priced affordably with free domestic shipping. Order today and start fighting fire with ice. Thefreezepipe.com, code BTC for 10% off. So the expectations for the Astros season remain pretty clear-cut. Win another World Series. We all want to see it. We don't know what's going to happen with Bregman. There's a couple other guys that are potentially nearing the end of their run in an Astros uniform that have been key pieces throughout this 7-year dynasty run. We've been to the ALCS every single fucking season. To only walk away with 2 rings would be a damn shame. We need a third. We need another one, especially after what happened last year. Got to be good at home. That probably is the first bullet point on every single Astros fan's wish list for this year, that we would be better at Minute Maid Park, because that was our downfall in 2023. If we could have just won a fucking home game against the Rangers, we'd probably already have our 3rd ring. They've got to be better at Minute Maid Park. That's a huge thing to look to towards as we get to opening day tomorrow. Playing at home, first game, set the fucking tone. Come out and mash. Put runs on the board. Numbers on the board, game 1. Pivotal. You got to get momentum early. You have to. You've got to shake the cobwebs of 2023 off at Minute Maid Park, because that was awful to watch. For the fans, for the players, it ends up being this weird thing where you're in your own head. Fuck all that. Let's not do that again. Crush at home, and then do your thing on the road as you always do, where you get the booze and you feed off the crowd. That's great, but find a way to harness that shit at home too, man. Just because you're not being booed and told to go fuck yourself and called a cheater doesn't mean you can't play at your best in front of your own fans in your goddamn building. Own that place, crush people at Minute Maid Park, and I have no doubt this season ends up being another great one for the Astros. But the expectation writes itself for this team during this 7-year, now moving up to 8-year run. You got to win the World Series. At the very least, you got to get there. There's no fucking excuse. You read all the names that I just did. You look at this lineup and you look at the pitching. The talent is there. Joe Espada, his first year as manager, I expect him to make changes that are going to make us better. That's the job, right? There were all these things about Dusty Baker and the way he handled things that rubbed some of us the wrong way, rubbed others really, really wrong. And Joe Espada, he could be the remedy for all of us, right? We want a manager that we can all be behind, not somebody we're arguing about all season long and what he's doing and these weird decisions he makes. Joe Espada is not the same kind of old school guy as Dusty Baker. He's going to do things a little bit differently, and I'm really looking forward to watching what those things are exactly. Big hopes for Joe. Big hopes for the season in general. But, yeah, the expectation is just fucking clear-cut. Win the World Series. Go get another one. We all want it. We know they want it. We know they're capable of it. Got to play better at home. Have to. That will do it for today's show, but remember, every episode of Banging the Can is available not only on all the major podcast platforms, but on youtube.com/@bangingthecan for those of you who would prefer to watch instead of just listen. Full video, youtube.com/@bangingthecan. Go subscribe. Frankly, even if you don't care to watch, I would appreciate you taking the time to subscribe on YouTube so we can continue to grow the show. If you're here on YouTube already, I appreciate you. Hit the subscribe button, leave a comment, give us a like on this video, share the show with your friends and family. Share the most unapologetic Houston sports show in existence with those you know. Follow us on social media @BangingTheCan. Support our sponsors. We've got links and codes for today's sponsors in the episode description below. Check out the rest of the shows I have available by going to bolenmedia.com. My comedy show, The Ross Bolen Podcast, where we touch on insane headlines and mental health stuff and mix in some funny shit here and there. Discussing all the crazy happenings in the world today. The Ross Bolen Podcast, available wherever you get Banging the Can, from YouTube to the major podcast platforms. If you're an F1 fan, check out Formula Bone. Go to youtube.com/@FormulaBone. Subscribe. Jared J-Bone Borislow, the man who hosts Formula Bone, among the best F1 content creators in the world, perhaps the biggest in the United States. Bolen Media's premier F1 programming, Formula Bone, available now, covering all the F1 races all season long. YouTube.com/@FormulaBone. Go subscribe. Also available on major podcast platforms. And if you're a TV and film person, Oysters, Clams, and Cockles is the name of Bolen Media's TV and film podcast, hosted by myself with one of my best friends of over 20 years and another Houston-born guy, Barrett Dudley. Right now we are covering Shogun on FX/Hulu. Oysters, Clams, and Cockles available wherever you get Banging the Can, including youtube.com/@Oysters, Clams, Cockles. I am Ross Bolen. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram @WRBolen. We'll be back next week to talk about how this first weekend of Astros baseball goes, catch up with the Rockets, see where they're at in terms of their playoff push. One game back of the Warriors now after the Warriors won last night because the fucking Heat choked. A few games back of the Lakers. Still a real chance to make the play-in tournament if the Rockets can continue to play well down the stretch. Very much looking forward to talking Astros baseball with y'all all season long. Stick around, subscribe, rate, review, share the show. Be back soon. Until next time, H-Town, stay down.